Right here.
Yeah.
It's actually in your packet.
Oh, okay.
If you actually go to page 32 of your packet.
Okay. Want me to read it, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
It's a letter from Investor North Reading. Mr. Balukonis, please accept
Thank
the closed gift of $1,213.46 from the Invest in North Reading Ballot Question Committee and deposit the funds into the Youth Services Gift Fund for use by the North Reading Police Community Impact Team. We are proud to assist the police, youth services, park and recreation, and school departments and the Board of Selectmen to promote a safe, healthy, and drug-free North Reading community. If possible, please schedule a vote of the Selectmen to accept the gift on 23rd of July, 2012. Thank you sincerely, Jeff Simons, Chairperson, Invest in North Reading.
You have the floor, Jeff.
Says it all.
All right, says it all, then we can go right to,
Yeah, we, like many ballot questions committees, we were very fortunate to have the support of the many people from town to donate towards the project to build the new high school and the middle school. But there are some, you need to make kind of some decisions of how to allocate your funds, sometimes to make that commitment, and then funds continue to roll in once you've made your commitments towards advertising and printing and so on and so forth. So we were fortunate to have some leftover funds, and this is one of the things that we thought would be worthy to use to disperse the funds. The funds cannot stay in the account, right, Barbara? The funds cannot stay in the account. Right.
Nice try, though.
Right. So we are splitting our remaining funds between the community outreach group, which has done some tremendous work. I attended their workshop on abuse of prescription drugs. It's very valuable. And then additionally, although that does not require your authorization, is we also deposited some funds in the Elderly and Disabled Tax Relief Fund. We thought we'd give some direct tax relief to the people who will perhaps could be most affected and for whom the increased cost of the school project will be a hardship. So we wanted to make a deposit to that as well. So we're hoping for your acceptance of this gift towards the Youth Services Group, and would also take this opportunity to remind you to try to be very active on getting the tax fund, the tax relief fund program, let's call it reactivated, and advertising it, finding people who might be needing some help, let them be aware that it exists, and I'd be happy to help in that regard any way that I can as well. So, but for tonight's purposes, the gift towards the youth services is what you need to approve.
thank you. I can tell you, I think Mr. Prisco can add to it, the tax relief group
Tax
committee had actually had a reorganization meeting recently, as of last week, and so that will be regenerated,
Wonderful.
rejuvenated too.
Yeah. At an upcoming meeting, we're going to give a presentation on some of the changes we're going to make and how we're going to go forward with it. So your donation will be, it's greatly appreciated. It will help contribute to what we can do with this.
Mr. Messeri.
As a member of the Community Impact Team, I'll thank you on behalf of the entire team.
Quite welcome, our pleasure. So again, this is funds that were donated through many people in town, but our group, Invest in North Reading, the Ballot Question Committee, simply decided how to best allocate those funds as we closed out the accounts.
I think you made two terrific choices as to where you wish these funds to go, and I thank you for
Great.
this donation here, as well as the donations to the Elderly and Disabled Tax Relief. And also thank you once again for your efforts regarding the school
Quite welcome.
project.
You're like Santa Claus this year, Jeff.
It's a good year.
Yeah, good job.
Life is good.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept a gift in the amount of $1,213.46 from the Invest in North Reading Ballot Question Committee for the Youth Services Gift Fund to be used by the North Reading Police Community Impact Team.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
9-0.
Boy, we are going through this agenda very fast without Caesar.
Oh.
Never open your mouth. You're always a wise guy. We do have a scheduled 7:30 timeframe for the meet with the Land Utilization Committee. I believe there's a couple of members there. So I'm going to skip down to item 10. Barbara, you're not upset, are you? Should take a little bit longer? All right, thank you. Mr. Tar? How are you?
All right, Ken Tar, 14 Winter Street. The Land Utilization Committee was asked several months ago by the board through the town administrator to look at the property, town property formerly owned by the Smith family for two purposes. One was to look at potential uses, and secondly was to look at a new name. So the main reason for requesting some agenda time tonight was to, if the board is interested in putting an article in October town meeting for the name change, then we wanted to give you the information. We put it out as a newspaper article and essentially got zero response other than asking a local company to donate $100,000 per year to for naming rights, of which I don't think that they would be interested in, and in part because we don't know what its end use will be. So the naming has been we've been very vague with the naming of it because of again, it's not registered. It's government land. It's not parkland. It was purchased under those grounds for a very specific reason, so that it wouldn't limit its usage. And since we are still limited in our access, then it would be. So we have been using the working name of Riverwood for the 50 acres that are known as formerly Smith property. We can continue to just use that as a working name. We don't, as a land utilization committee, does not feel the need to push for a new name, official new name at this time. I think that if we use the working name, that will achieve the purpose that we're looking for, which is to give it its own identity, without having to be narrowed into anything. But again, this is what we've been working with. Wanted to report back to the board since they asked us to look at it and let the board mull it over if they want to. But again, we're not calling it Riverwood Park. We're not calling it Riverwood Acres. We're just calling it Riverwood. And again, I know the land utilization wouldn't be upset if it didn't get brought up as a part of October town meeting. Timing's not critical on it. Depends on what the board's wishes were, because it was their task assigned to us originally. And going further with that, the next part of it was the uses for it, where we're at with that. When the purchase of the land was brought before town meeting, it was stated that there was no access, and that access would have to be achieved through future development. I went back to the original presentation that we did and confirmed that, since there was some question, because we did want to make that clear at the time, that there was a problem with access. There still is. We've got two bridges from Elm Street. That's basically a driveway. One of the bridges has now been limited to a walkway by the town Department of Public Works for safety purposes, put up railings, narrowed it down so that there can be no more vehicle access through there for the time being. That road only leads so far on town property anyway. It leads to private property, so it would have to have another wetlands crossing. And to look at that feasibility-wise for more than one lane would be very expensive. We've walked out there. Of the 50 acres, about 50% would probably be high enough to be developed if there were, to whatever purpose. There is another bridge abutment further east of that driveway, but that bridge is gone, and we've yet to be able to actually get access to it by foot because it's all grown over there. We, on our site visit, did come out to the other side of the river. After you go down a ways, becomes Linfield, and there's a very clear railroad bed there. And it just so happened that while we were on our walk, we walked, again, limited to one lane at this point. It would take a lot of work. It would take a lot of wetlands infringement to make it more than one lane. But we did run into some people from Linfield that told us they're looking to develop on their side of that railroad bed some playing fields. And Rita Mullen has met with some of the people involved in that in Linfield, and we're kind of watching to see what they do to get their access, because they're open to letting us use that as well if it becomes developed. So we continue to look at it. Right now, it's open for walking. There are some trails through there. There's nothing official, no official trails through there, but there are some pathways through there. We did have one resident tell us about launching, being able to launch canoe from there, and that it's, you barely know that you're next to 62 when you're on the river there, and so there are some more passive recreation type activities that can be done there right now, and we continue to look at it, but right now we can't promise. There's also, again, depending on what the vision would be for there, it does seem to abut, I believe it's Anglewood, and if there was a house that we could purchase on Anglewood to get access, but other than that, there's houses blocking it. There's private property blocking us access from Wright Street, which would be where you'd think you can go in, but that road becomes private property, and there's no way to do it. So that's where we're at. If the board's interested in the name change at this time, or if they just want it to stay informal, we'll say Riverwood as often as we can to drill it into the minds of people that that's what that is. So.
I suggest that we don't formally name it until there's a defined purpose. I think what Ken is saying is appropriate. But we could refer it to as the Riverwood Project. Officially, from a board point of view.
Again, as an informal name, I don't know. The only thing I see with the project aspect of it is
I agree.
Going someplace.
it sounds
Property,
like there's
that would
something
be,
there.
Riverwood property, but.
Right now, the project is it's a project to find out what we can do with it.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's a
Riverwood
project for LUC. We are working on it, and have been in the works, even if we only developed it into trails. It would be there. So, whatever the board chooses.
I'm in favor of a working name, whether it's Riverwood or Riverwood Project, doesn't matter to me. I think it makes sense to wait
I think they have a good
until,
grasp on it.
I think it makes sense to wait until you have a defined purpose and usage for that area before we give it a true new name. So that's what I'm in favor of.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a naive question?
Can you?
Yeah, believe it or not, right. If somebody, let's say on Englewood, and those private properties, had a lot of land that they wanted to donate just some small section of it to give access to it, can they legally do something like that?
See why they
Yes.
Maybe folks listening at home, or if they get something written up in the paper, if there's anybody that is a property owner that abuts the Riverwood property area that is interested in donating a parcel of the property to give us some access, I guess we'd be very interested in having a discussion with them. They could reach out to you, Ken, directly, or LU